All right, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from whatever time frame you're joining us from. As usual, this is EasyFX Academy, and this is our market review session for the week. All right, so let's just go straight into the charts. Start with gold. All right, so now on normal day, many people might have expected that due to the occurrences going on in the world, would expect to see maybe people running to, buy gold, and we should see some level of strength in gold. All right, but the reverse is the case from what we've seen from the chart, where we've seen the price of gold continuously plummet. All right, and I do believe that to some extent we might still get to see a continuation of that. However, I'll just give us a few pointers to what I believe you should do. All right, for the meantime, to just protect yourself. So let me just quickly add one or two things to this, right, and then we'll move from there. All right, so definitely now for the meantime for me, all right, what I would prefer to do is to watch out for a break above any of these regions. So maybe above this eye or below, this low here. And the reason why I'll be doing that is very, very simple. Right now we're still seeing gold struggling within a sort of range, all right, and because of that struggle, I will not be entering any trade haphazardly. All right, I won't want to just jump into any trade or look for a buy or force a trade, or none of that. All right, I won't be doing any of that. All right, it's just easier to watch out for the possible moves that can happen, and then position yourself when you've seen that happening. All right, so don't just jump in, don't just try to predict what the market will do, just try and react to whatever you do get to see price show you on the chart. All right, so that basically is what I'm going to be doing during the course of this week. So basically what I'm trying to say is, right now, watch out for a break above this point. I'm not giving you a specific zone, or about I'll tell you what exactly you can watch out for. Sorry, so watch out for a break above this high or below this low. So this high is around 5197 or so. This low is around 5038.96. So watch out for a break up, towards in either of those regions. And then, if we're lucky enough, we should be able to get a break and retest trade from any of those 2 points. So I want to see that break below or break above, and then definitely a good enough retest, and then maybe on the lower time frame, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, get enough good confirmations, and then you get in for your trade. So that's just it for gold. I'm not going to explain too much, but I believe what I've said should make a lot of sense to you, our viewers. All right, so that's it for gold. I'll go to AUD card next. And AD card, I believe, has been fairly bearish for a while, right? Has been fairly bearish for a while. So I'm just giving you two regions that you might be able to watch out for the continuation. All right. This is point one, or POI1 between 0.96487 and 0.96216, and POI2 between 0.97320 and 0.96942. All right, so I'm expecting either of them to play out. Now I'm not going to be entering any of these, maybe like certain pending orders. That would not be my point of action. That would not be my points, my move. Basically, I'm not going to be setting pending orders. Basically, I want to see price get near any of them, and then maybe drop down to the 5 minute time frame, and thankfully, or hopefully rather, get to watch out for our entry confirmations on the lower time frame for those trades. All right, so I hope that is clear. I remember on gold last week, or was it the week before, so when we're talking about the gold sales originally, I remember talking about the same thing. All right, that even though we've seen price get into our region, we want to still see good enough confirmations on the lower time frame before entering for the trade coming. Right, and I can just show you this. I don't think I want to explain it, but I'll just show you. For those of you who might be able to understand what basically this is, or what basically is the pattern that we got to use here, but you should have an understanding of how exactly we got to get in on that trader. It's quite simple, really, but all the same, the important thing really is for you to be able to work with your own entry confirmations. Don't fly into the trade, or else you will fly out. So that basically is it for AED card and gold. All right, I'll jump to card JPY. I'm just going to be picking a few commodities that are sort of interesting to me this week, and then we'll work with those ones. All right, so next up, card JPY. I believe card JPY is also a fairly interesting commodity. It gets your own craze for head, but it's quite interesting. All right, so this is basically going to be my point of interest majorly between 115.718 and 115.40. Now you might be asking me why exactly that is my point of interest. So basically, I'm looking at the previous high that was taken out. All right, so I think, did I get that on the daily time frame or 4 hour time frame? All right, so let's use the 4 hour time frame. So we're looking at this high. All right, so definitely we've seen that there's resistance around here, where that eventually was broken. So I'm expecting a sort of pull back into that region here. Sorry, sort of pull back into that point, and then maybe we'll get to see some the buys play out from there. All right, so let me just get that a bit better. So my POI basically again is between 115.718 and 115.374. That sort of range what I'm expecting. All right, as a scalper, I expect you to maybe drop down to the 15 minutes time frame or even less when we get the price come there, and you can work with whatever confirmation that you would want to work with. All right, or you can just enter in from the 50% of that region if at all you feel like that one is quite large for you to work with. All right, I hope that is clear for CAD GPY. I think we'll do EG next. EG and possibly EJ. That's Euro GBP and then maybe Euro GPY also. So let's go daily time frame. Now this one, I'm not even going to tell you that this is something I'm so sure. I'm just having it at the back of my mind. As a trade that I might want to still see play out. All right, might very very. When I say might, I promise you it's a very very very, very, very strong mic. All right. So basically, what I want to see right now, I do not think we're going to see it, but I'm just going to explain it to you. All right. So this is more or less the most experimental out of all the trade ideas that we're going to be sharing, or the most experimental out of everything I'm expecting to happen during the course of this week. All right. Let me jump to this. Is it the 4 hour time frame we should use, or the daily? All right, this is the daily time frame. So basically, what I'm expecting is very, very simple. Now, if I get to see this candle, this candle goes in about 5 hours or so. What I want to see, all right, on the daily time frame at the very least, is a candle close above that region, or a candle closing bullish. All right, if I get to a candle closing bullish, it will sort of inform me that, or it will give me more of an assurance of maybe a bullish movement that will be able to join from there. If we go down to the 4 hour time frame, all right, what I would expect you to do, maybe dropping towards the lower time frames, 4 hour time frame, 1 hour time frame, whatever time frame towards the downside, is for you to watch out for the change of character on the lower time frame. So maybe even on the 1 hour time frame, if we're lucky enough and we get to see um something like this, we get to see this break above here. All right, then definitely I believe maybe not there. Let's use this, although this most recent one, yes, so somewhere like here, we get to see a break above that region, then definitely I think that will be a very good point, a very good point for us to get in for the buy. So if we get to see price give us something like this, sorry, price give us something like this, yeah, that should inform us that probably we are going to be getting, we're going to be joining or having some, proper buys on this guy. But I'm just going to be very, very watchful. All right. So this is just sort of an idea that I want to still see reason to enter, reason to take. That basically that's why I'm just sharing it with you. So I'm not necessarily giving you I can give you the coordinates anyway. I can. All right, that's between the region I marked out currently on my own chart is between 0.86627 and 0.86440. All right, and as usual, I'll tell you that these values might vary depending on your broker, but at the very least, make sure that you're working with your own entry confirmations and you're also doing your own analysis. Look at the charts. All right, as much as you're watching the videos, you can interpret all these zones, all these regions on your own chart also, and then that should help you make better decisions during the course of the week. So that's it for Euro GBP. Next up, Euro JPY. And I remember for a couple of weeks now, we've been expecting this sort of buy from here. Very, very slow buy. But we got to see some solid movements middle of February, even up till now. All right. So basically, what am I expecting? Sorry. What am I expecting to happen during the course of this week? Now, if I come to, let me jump to the 2-hour time frame first, right? So if I come to the 2-hour time frame right now, I want to see very, very simple, really. If truly now, because we've seen, I need to mark this out, right? We've seen something like this, and basically we're still seeing price struggling around. Sorry, we're still seeing price struggling, somewhere around there. All right. So if I get to see, maybe a simple break above there, maybe towards this end, I think I'll be careful. I'll be watching out for a buy. Sorry, for a sell rather, from somewhere around here. All right, but this is a scalp trade. It's not something I would necessarily want to hold out for long. A short sell from anywhere around 184.196.2 rather, 184.196 and 183.891. All right, so very, very short sell. Maybe something that we might be able to get, maybe something like this. Not something I would necessarily want to hold for so long. If I get a 1:2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 1:3. I don't know if we'll be able to get 1:4 or 5 from there, but basically that's it. Because overall, I'm still looking at the propensity or the possibility rather for us to still get some buys. I mean, I'm watching out for it basically. I'm watching for the possibility of us still having the buys. But yeah, for just sales, if we're just watching out for sales for the meantime, let's just work with that region. If at all we are going to get another buy, we're going to get buy continuations. Already we've seen here strong enough support still holding up. Sorry, still holding up, right? Line chart. Okay. I think I'm still really satisfied with this. I would prefer to still have more information, maybe when I get to see how price moves during the course of the week. But for now, we can just hold on to these shells. Hopefully, we get to see that happen. But the idea is very, very simple, right? Don't just enter in, just don't just fly in. Just make sure you're calm enough, and then watch out for your entry confirmations when you get to see price approach or gets to what's that region, all right, to that region, all right. So I hope that is clear for Euro GBP. I'll just take a couple more commodities, and I think we'll call it a session, all right. So let's do. Have I talked about EU today? Have I talked about? I do not believe. No, I didn't. All right. So EU. Oh, all right. I already marked out a couple of things on EU that I'm just going to watch out for. So I'm not going to talk too much on this. It's just very, very simple. Drop based drop. All right. I'm just expecting that supply zone to still hold. We have reason to believe that we might get to see maybe a break and retest of that trend line. All right, so liquidity from there, we can see price push up, and then we can see a drop towards the downside. That this is basically sort of what I'm expecting on Euro USD right now. So sell region for me on Euro USD between 1.17131 and 1.16779. All right, those are the coordinates for the sales I'm expecting on EU. So I'm not. We can just see that we're still quite bearish. So I'm just going with that. I'm just going with that at the back of my mind. All right, so I hope that is clear for EU. Let's do I've already done EG earlier, so let's do GN. Maybe we'll do GN, GJ, GU. All right, so GN. All right, so I already marked out a couple of things earlier, basically. And let me delete this so that we'll go start from maybe the daily time frame. All right, so daily time frame is telling us one simple thing. So we're seeing good enough sales that has brought the price down, and right now we're still seeing price struggle around this region. Now, for me, this is a very valid demand. All right, I'm expecting demand region rather, and I'm expecting price to give us continued buys from them. Now, the issue that we're having, however, is that there has been a lot of struggle from that region. Now, I'm not expecting this buy to last so long, all right, but if we're lucky enough, or if we're fortunate enough, we should be able to get, if we can get something from here towards maybe this previous area, I think that will be quite all right. So that will give you maybe a 1:3 or 4. That's still that's a quite the zone is quite large. 1:3, yeah, about 1:3 or so trade. All right, so if we're able to get that, I think that's still quite fine. So basically, my entry region or the PO I'm expecting is between 2.25, sorry, 2.25443 and 2.24730. And again, I'm just basically working with the fact that we've had this already, right? So I'm just going to mark this low to this high using my fib retracement tool. Sorry, let me just make that as accurate as possible. Right, and here. So I'm just working basically from the 76.4 region towards the downside. Right, I'm just going to use the all of that, region or that zone to work for or to look out for, my buy region rather. So yeah, like this, and then let's see how the buys play out. So again, that's just my bias right now for GN. That's it for GN. So I'll do GU. Let me see GJ. I don't know if I like that GJ. Okay, so I remember we talked about GJ last week. All right, so I mean, this kind of still looks fairly bullish. I don't think I mean, there's a slowdown. Don't get me wrong. There's sort of slowdown in the momentum, but I don't know how soon we are going to see the fruition of that, because basically we are so something like this. All right, something like this. I want to see what up. I don't know. Maybe if we get to see the break and retest, sure. Because I love trading break and retest. I believe that they're quite interesting. So let me just have this here. All right, so maybe if we get to the break and retest, we might be able to get another entry for. I already gave this buy, all right. So if I thought we're lucky enough to get another break and retest, we might be able to get in for something like this. All right, so if we get to the break and retest, sure, why not? Yeah, sure. Let's work with that for the meantime. Let's wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hmm. 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 Let's just have this. Let me do it like this instead. So I'll just tell you what to do, right? So number one, watch out for this break. All right. So I want to see a solid break above here first. All right. So if we get to see not too solid anyway, let me draw that. So I want to see a body break above here. All right. Then after the body break, what I want to know is if at all we get to see after the body break, if we get to see a sharp enough drop, from this point. So if I thought we get to see maybe after the body break above that region, then maybe the next candle that comes after it is showing us maybe sort of an engulfing candle, formation where I get to see a longer bodied, bearish candle towards the downside, of course. Then definitely, I think I will be smelling and suspecting this guy to give us a proper drop soon. That's GG for the sales, but I'm still going to be very cautious. I'm still going to be very cautious. Basically, what I'm trying to show you right now is not necessarily, oh, when price gets here, do this. I'm showing you what you should do, or what you can just have at the back of your mind of the possibilities that can happen, right? So for me, I might be suspecting right now, at least I'm suspecting that we might get to see a sweep of this eye and then maybe a drop after. That basically is what I'm expecting right now. That's what I'm suspecting rather right now. I don't know if we're going to still see the continuation for the buys overall. At least maybe not yet. Might still have a reason to drop a little bit more, all right, before the buys actually do happen. All right, something like, because this is another, this is something else to consider. So once this eye is taken out, we might get to see a form of retracement towards the downside. The price will probably find a better place to get that overall buy movement from. But sort of something like this is what I'm expecting right now. So a break above that region and then maybe a drop towards the downside. So if you're lucky enough to get another drop, I think you should be good for a fair enough trade. That's basically what I have to say right now for GG. I'm just going to be watching out for this guy during the course of the week. So let's do GU. I talked about GN. I don't know if we looked at GN earlier. I will definitely read it. So GG, then GU. So here after GU, I'll do. I'll just take two more commodities after GU. All right. So for GU right now, let's go to the 1 hour. Let me start from the daily. So even on the charts, you'll be able to really see how much of a hit the current economic situation of the world basically has played out, or has had an effect on the chart. So it's I don't want to sound political, so I won't talk too much about whatever is going on, but it is all right. It is all. So let's see. On our time frame right now, I think something similar to what I just said for GG is what I'm going to be watching out for. A break above that region, and then maybe we are lucky enough to get in for the sales, something like this. So our time frame, let me confirm. Yeah, I think I'll just hold on to that for the meantime. Unless we have a reason for price to decide to near. This is one of those very, very annoying voids, and not annoying necessarily, but I've seen times when price literally would come to something like this and then use that for its for another movement. I'm sure if we check maybe another broker, it might be different, but for now let me just mark it out and just watch out for whatever happens. But for the meantime, let's see a break above that region, and then maybe we get confirmations to enter for the sales on a lower time frame. But the point I'm watching out for the break is around 1.34085. So just the previous high that we got to see around last week Friday or so, basically. So once Friday's high being taken out, then maybe we get to see the continuation for the drop from there. All right, so that's it for GBP USD. Next up, let me do NZD card. I think I already had something marked out previously on this guy. Did I? Yes, I did. I did. So daily time frame, do we need to go that high? Sure, why not? So forgive me, I'm trying to. All right, so I feel like there's something that's missing on this chart because I already looked at it earlier, but let me just quickly remark a couple of things and then I'll explain what I believe we might get to experience during the course of this week. So sorry, that's quite far. As this candle closed, so this is just next 5 hours, right? So let me just pull this here. So basically, I'm considering this all something like this. All right, I'm considering the amount of resistance I get to see from here. Now, if you notice, we have a fair bit of rejection happening from there, but I still want to see that candle close. I want to see if the candle is going to close bullish or bearish. Now, if I thought we get to see the candle close bullish, all right, on the daily time frame, Yeah, on the daily time frame, of course. If I can see that candle close bullish, this is my current plan of action, or this is going to be my current line of action. So on the 1 hour time frame, let me drop down. What I'm going to watch out for is very, very simple. I want to see a break and retest in that scenario. Now we've seen the break, sorry, I want to see a retest. So we've seen the break. All right, I want to see a retest of somewhere around here. All right, so this is a previous, drop-based drop sort of movement that we get to see here that was eventually broken or taken out as it was. And I want to see that region still somehow hold up because I've already seen some level of rejection here. So it's just going to be a good enough point for me to watch out for a continuation for the buys from. All right, and that region is around 0.80192 and 0.79956. All right, 0.80192 and 0.79956. So I want to see we've seen the break already. I want to see a possible retest into that region again, and then we should rather be able to climb for the buys. I hope that is clear for NZD card. I'm not going to take too much time explaining that, but hopefully you understand the overall bias and your overall movement I'm expecting. All right, so last but not the least for today's session, we'll do UJ, and then we'll call it a day. Right, so UJ seems quite bearish right now. Not when I say quite bearish, maybe not overall, but I mean we have reasons to see, or we're seeing strong drops in UJ's movements right now. We're seeing strong bearish moves. So to our time frame, I sincerely just prefer conservative approaches to every single thing. Well, not every time, but you understand the idea, you get the idea. So I think I'm going to be generically watching out for this. This is one. Well, it seems to be the most sorry, wrong I don't think we have one that is necessarily connecting them. I'm not going to force that one there. So I mean I'm okay working with that. I think I'm okay working with that. So I'm just going to mark this other region out for the sake of marking it out. I want to see. I'm just going to mark it out anyway. But yeah, so I want to watch out for this. I think this is for me, I think this feels the riskiest to take. I do not know why. All right, but this feels like the riskiest to take. But I'm watching out for this buys, on UJ right now from regional coordinates between 157.085 and 156.4. So I want to see that drop still happen again, and then the continuation for the buys, something like that on UG. I do not know if we're going to still get to see that drop even go as far as that, or it's because already this whole region is showing a lot of choppy movements, and market is not. We're not necessarily having the sharpest movements towards the upside or towards the downside. All right, but at the same time, let's see the possibility of moves that might happen when we get to see price come into the coordinate I called out earlier. All right, so with these fears of mine, I hope you've learned a couple of things and you've gained value. As usual, we have this every Monday. Do well to join us. And as usual, practice proper risk management. Nothing keeps you trading for as long as proper risk management. All right, risk really, really would help you. Your risk management will help you. All right, and as usual, I believe and I'm very sure I'm going to have a profitable rest of the week. Have a lovely rest of the week, guys, and God bless. Bye bye.